The Find a Way Flames are back, and if there is a will, there is a way. We're going to talk all about the victory over the San Jose Sharks here on Locked On Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Today, we will be reacting to the 3-2 victory over the San Jose Sharks, and I didn't think the Flames were going to come out on top on this one. They got outplayed. And again, first game back. So we'll talk about that and what's coming up on the radar. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And let's dive right into this. But the difference makers tonight. Let's start with the biggest one. Dustin Wolf. He bailed this team out time and time again, and it was tough to watch. Not because he was doing anything wrong, but because the pieces in front of him were acting like they've never played a hockey game before, and it was very difficult and frustrating because Dustin Wolf is your projected franchise goaltender, your next Mika Kiprusoff, if you will. And to have Rasmus Andersson playing as sloppily as he did was just straight up disrespectful. I don't care. He played limited minutes in the Four Nations. He was not Charlie McAvoying it up out on the ice. So I really don't know what the excuse is for his performance. But Dustin Wolf, 931 save percentage tonight. He's let 2 in, but I mean, honestly, like, Macklin Celebrini is going to score on you, and Tyler Toffoli is just a consistent goal scorer. So I don't want to say I can't be mad about it, because obviously you don't want that, but it's bound to happen when your defense just does not even resemble, like, they're your ops. They don't want to see you win. That's really what it looked like tonight. But the Sharks, we'll talk about this coming up a little bit later, but the Sharks had 24 penalty minutes, which is crazy to me. Definitely listen to Locked On Sharks with JD. He is an excellent analyst when it comes to the Sharks and just what they've been cooking up these last few years. But on a brighter note, Kevin Rooney scored a goal. Yes, you heard that right. You do not need to clean out your ears. Kevin Rooney scored the go-ahead goal in the second period, and it was nice. It was nice to see the fourth line get going. The fact that they were the Flames' best line tonight, probably not the best message to be sending ahead of this 6-game road trip in the trade deadline, but, like, I can't allow myself to get too ahead of myself because you know what? Good for the fourth line. Good for Ryan Lomberg, Rooney, and Pospisil. I think that if there's a will, there's a way. And to see them buzzing out there, it was nice. They looked refreshed. I know Pospisil was in Mexico. The other two were probably on vacations of sorts as well. So I'm glad they took advantage of the break. But can we just go back to Dustin Wolf and Rasmus Andersson for a second? Andersson had giveaway after giveaway, bad positioning. There was one shot from the Sharks in the third period where Andersson was just so out of position in by the crease that it made no sense. It was like he was channeling, like, his inner, like, Nikita Zadorov. That feels disrespectful to Nikita Zadorov because it was just so unprofessional and unlike Rasmus Andersson. But I don't know. I'll cut him some slack because he didn't really get a break jet jetting back and forth between Montreal and Boston, you know, playing hockey when he could have been on a beach. I'm sure Mackenzie Weegar enjoyed his time on the beach. But in all seriousness, they it, the defense just has to be better. Everyone has to be better. What we saw tonight was unacceptable. Yes, they won. That's great. But they were severely outplayed. And I get it. The Sharks are younger, and for the most part, and they are a little bit faster, and they do have that high-end talent in players like Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith. They have Tyler Toffoli, obviously an older player there, but they have the pieces that make up a talented roster, and even if they only have 15 wins, the pieces are coming together. But coming up next, we're gonna talk about the numbers and breaking them down because there was a lot that happened this evening, and I am blown away that the Flames walked away with 2 points. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling full longer. I love my Wonderful Pistachios. This week they will come in clutch. It is the last week of the month, and if you know anything about sales, you know that this is crunch time, so I'm not going to have time for a lunch break. I'll have a few minutes to run back, grab my pistachios, and call it a day, and I know that it'll give me the fuel that I need to crush the end of the month. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're getting your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. Let's give Connor Zary a nice, big, warm welcome back because it was his first game back after missing 15 games with that scary knee injury back in the start of January. So it's been over a month, almost 2, and you would have thought he didn't miss any time at all. He looked great. I I thought he was fast. He didn't play with like any sort of hesitation, even after getting some big hits. He still looked great. And in his first game back, we'll take it. And let's look at the stats from Mr. Zary. So he was a -1, which I mean, plus minus, like, kind of not a great stat. He had 3 shots on goal, 1 block, 1 hit, and 1 giveaway. I mean, hey, you do what you can. I am just happy to see that he passed the eye test as well because that is such a huge part of the game because the this paper in front of me uh, might say something completely different than we just watched on TV and vice versa. So I think that him coming back with such a strong performance is a very good sign for the Flames, especially if they want to continue to make that push for the playoffs. Vancouver lost again tonight, so welcome to the second wild card, Calgary. um, the Flames did have an abysmal night at the faceoff dot. Who would have thought? A team that needs centers desperately has a horrendous night at the faceoff dot. 56.9% versus 43.1. The Flames got eaten alive. I do not care what anyone says. The Flames need to do whatever they can to acquire that true 1C. No disrespect to Kadri, but he can fill the void for now. He can fill that spot for now, but if this team really wants to compete and really wants to move forward in their rebuild, they've got to find themselves a Macklin Celebrini, a Sidney Crosby, a Nathan McKinnon. Like, you need something better than you have. And we know how you acquire that high-end talent. But I digress. I thought that, the overall performance was tough. Face-off percentage kind of speaks for itself. The Flames had 6 power play opportunities and capitalized once. Nazem Kadri is now, once again, a 20-goal scorer, so congratulations. He scored the only power play goal of the game. There's only so many times you can say this team just needs to be better, because if you want to build something and maybe you don't have all the parts, you can only get so much. And sure, okay, maybe you can like reuse those same parts, or like a screw here instead of a nail or a bolt, like the better opportunity. And that's kind of how I feel like this Flames roster is. It's like you don't have, like, you have pieces, but too many of the same pieces. You have too many third and fourth line players. It was great that they thought Martin Pospisil was going to be a top 6 player. I don't think that's the case. And, again, it could just be the sophomore slump, but to me, it is better if you limit his minutes on that fourth line. I think that's the way it's going to be. Also, huge shout out to Joel Hanley, who broke a 31 goalless game drought dating back to last season. That is huge. Good for him. It was the game-winning goal. Even better. So just good for him. I mean, we talk a lot about Joel Hanley on this podcast in terms of being like an extra defenseman. He was up on the top pair with Rasmus Andersson this evening. Again, speaks to the state of the Flames. Kevin Ball was supposed to come back, but he was sick, so he just didn't play, which is a good idea. So Joel Hanley, I'm sorry I was not familiar with your game. But again, this is a situation where the Flames should be able to have, like, in a situation like that, where Ball's out, okay, maybe Mackenzie Weegar goes up to the top pairing and someone's playing on their offside, but they got to anchor that top 4. So I'm curious to see how things look once Ball is back, because he has missed significant time as well with an upper body injury, aka a concussion. So I hope that the Flames defense is able to get it together a little bit, play a little bit of a tighter game. And honestly, with Tyson Barrie with the Wranglers, maybe you scratch Jake Bean and put Joel Hanley in there, or you see more of Solyov. Like, there are a number of opportunities here for Ryan Huska to really elevate his defense that desperately needs it. But Ryan Lomberg, I was shocked when I saw this. I was just scrolling through the stats. He had 4 shots on goal. That is the most on the team. Actually, you know what? Yes. Oh, that's a lie. Sorry. Kadri had 6, but he was second on this team in shots. Michael Backlund didn't have one. Martin Pospisil didn't have one. Ryan Lomberg had more than Rasmus Andersson or, Jonathan Huberdeau, who's been on fire. A player you don't expect. Matt Coronado only had 2 shots. He looked good tonight. He passed the eye test. I mean, there's only so many numbers that are gonna back up that performance, but I don't want to see Huska benching that 4th line in the 3rd period all the time. I think that we can't do that to the other lines. I don't think it's necessarily fair, especially when the 4th line is grinding all game and they put you ahead. They gave you your lead for the night. So I guess we'll have to watch and see what happens, especially against Washington on Tuesday. I'm terrified, and we'll talk more about that coming up next. But if you've looked at the score or done any quick research for, what might be coming up on Tuesday against the Washington Capitals, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. And we'll be back right after this. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you missed the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And you can, if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Personally, I would not have had a parlay with a Kevin Rooney or Joel Hanley goal on it, but I would have had one anytime Nazem Kadri goal, or probably, Rasmus Andersson over 1.5 shots blocked, things like that. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit fanduel.com to join today. That's fanduel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks everyone for tuning into today's episode. Make sure you are following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. I'm concerned for this road trip, and I think a lot of people are, and rightfully so. This is a brutal road trip. 6 games out east, not necessarily too bad travel wise, but the teams you're playing, yeah, this this is a real opportunity for the season to absolutely slip away for the Flames and just crumble before our very eyes. We're talking about them being in a wild card spot tonight, and we might wake up next Monday and we're talking like draft lottery simulations. So let's cross our fingers depending on which team you're for. But the Washington Capitals, one of the best teams in the league, have scored 13 goals in back-to-back games. So Saturday, they scored 7. And today, they scored 6. That's a lot of goals. Or I'm sorry, I believe it was 15 goals. Yes, it was 15. I apologize. 8 and 7. So, what are we gonna do? What are the Flames gonna do when they can't even put together 15 goals? They can't put together 3 goals in a game half the time. I started so prior to today's game against the Sharks, I was writing an article for the win column, and I wanted to see, I mean, if they can score that in 2 games, how many games did it take for the Flames to get there? It was 7. It was 7. And, I know you're not always gonna be able to score 5, 6, 7 goals a game, but I think if this team could just score, like, truly 4 goals a game, they would be in a much better position. And they would have more talented players on their team at that point. I would have to predict, because the offense that they're doing right now, trying to create, we've seen it. It is pretty sloppy. I mean, there was a pass misread, I believe in the second period, where uh, Huberdeau and Kadri were passing back and forth, and it was just intercepted because they were overpassing it. I understand why they were passing it, to for a lane to open up, but ultimately, you know, caused a turnover, and you want to try to minimize those, because what good does it do if you are creating opportunities for your opponent more than your own team? This The rest of their season is kind of bananas. They only have 10 home games left. They have 16 on the road, and they have 26 games in the next 54 days. You aren't getting more than a day off at that rate. A day or 2 at max. Like, there's no more, "Oh, here's, like, 3 days," like, the Flames play on a Tuesday and then don't play again until Saturday. Like, there's none of that. It is pedal to the metal. And I think for the Flames, for a team that is consistently inconsistent, that's probably the best opportunity for them, because you just need to keep going. You need to be able to build that momentum. And that's why I'm terrified for this road trip. It is going to go one of 2 ways. 1, they win. They, like, play well. Number 2, they crash and burn. And we're not talking about the playoffs anymore. We're talking, like, should you extend Rasmus Andersson? Are you sure that's a move you wanna take? Oh, maybe we should take calls on Nazem Kadri. Might be a good idea to start taking calls on Anderson too. Like, you have to shift your perspective. And I'm kind of worried that right now, especially with their win tonight, someone in the front office, Craig Conroy, is looking at this team through rose-colored glasses. I don't want that. You need to look at this team for what it is. It's tough. They are a very likable team. They seem like very nice people. But that's not what it's about. You want to construct a hockey team that can win. And you're going to have to pull some punches. You're going to have to hurt some feelings to make that happen. And I feel like, I don't want to say blindsided Mangiapane with a trade, because he knew he was going to be traded, but just didn't expect it to be during the summer. He needs to make those tough decisions. And I feel like Rasmus Andersson is a great player, but he does not fit in the Flames' long-term picture. And I feel like as soon as if they do not trade him July 1st, they are going to sign a big fat extension. And suddenly we're counting down the clock on that more than the Huberdeau contract, and that's a lot. I want nothing but good things for Anderson, 150,000,000,000%, but, he I don't see him fitting in on this team in 5 years. Um, the Flames have a lot of talented prospects coming up, and who knows what other young defense they might be able to acquire, and the assets they could get back for Anderson, like, I think it would be something similar to the Elias Lindholm trade. Are you getting that first round pick, a high-end prospect, and a roster player? You're probably looking at that. So, what is more attractive to you? And that's ultimately what it comes down to, and I'm sure it's different when you have a working relationship with these people, but you're trying to build a winning hockey team. So, we'll leave it at that. This road trip wraps up literally the day before the trade deadline. So, I think that that's kind of perfect timing because you really might be working at the 11th hour. But that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic start to your week and just, uh, you know, enjoying the nice weather or staying warm. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts as well as YouTube. And I will see you all tomorrow where we will be evaluating the trade deadline needs.